waste of funds then to move forward with this project.
Well, if Ted, just to refresh everybody's memory, when we voted on this, we were guaranteed that the $68,000 figure was what it was going to cost, and it wasn't going to go up. And within, I think, that week, the contractor, tried to up the amount. Sure. And that's the point. Yeah, we're going along. Now the 68 is up to 80 plus. And by the time we get done, I'm sure it's going to be higher than what we have here. But I'm not sure that it's going to be, I just don't see that it's going to be worth that amount of money.
I can't argue that. I can't.
Just my opinion.
If you're going to put recreation usage into a dollar figure, I can think of a whole lot of things that we probably shouldn't have here as recreation.
I'm just saying, we don't know that this is the right. We don't know that this is the right dock. Not that we shouldn't have a dock, but is this the right dock? They picked this for whatever reason, and I don't think that's a good enough. That's doing your due diligence.
Well, I think CDBG, when they look at these universal access type projects, they look at the region, and they obviously internally want to encourage as many within this locale as possible. And along the lines, we made a proposal and they've accepted it. So they see a need, and obviously it's something that they're funding, but to put a specific number on it, I'm sorry, sir, I cannot do that.
No, I'm just saying prove that your number is correct, that this is the dock that we need. And if you're telling me that
Mr. Budman, I'm going to intervene here for, we're getting into hypotheticals that Dale can't answer that.
Well,
I know, and
I don't expect
if you're asking for the specific usage that would be in need of universal accessibility, I don't have that number.
Did we do any study? Okay. Did we look at that? That's my point. Did we look at it?
Again, that was not the option offered. Wayne County offered CDBG grant money for Grosse Ile Township to install a universally accessible, non-motorized launch.
And it's also available for people that don't need the universal accessibility, but it is then there for those that do need it.
That's what the term universal access means. I mean, I'm serious. The able-bodied. When you throw the term ADA, Americans with Disabilities, people, oldest community downriver, as we get older and less flexible, the facility, this universally accessible facility is available to. We're not disabled. We just don't have the mobility and some of the upper body strength we used to have, in my case. But yeah, I'd like to be able to use this launch. So, again, we're becoming the oldest community. Maybe more people. I'm going to say Ted's age will be able. We'll be able to partake of it.
I can't argue that.
So, again, universal access. It means just that. And it's not, obviously not absolutely everybody will be able to use it, but more and more Americans, more and more residents will be able to use it. And again, we're well along in this process. Wayne County wants us to have this facility. They're funding what used to be the lion's share of it, but now I guess it's a minority stake. But again, I think it's an asset to the island. We know we can't monetize this, but it's an asset. My thoughts on it. Other comments, questions from the board?
Mr. Supervisor?
Go ahead. Trustee Posey.
I have watched this kayak launch for 12 years now. Okay. It's gone from a concept and a thought in people's minds, and I watched 2 recreation master plans go through, and increasingly the residents that participated in that plan want this kayak launch. The fact that it happens to be universally acceptable seems to me to be the perfume on it. It's going to make it more accessible to more people. People that will use this launch are not going to all be disabled. but many people will come here and spend an afternoon going from kayak launch to kayak launch up and down this river, and spend time in Wyandotte, spend time in Trenton, spend time in Riverview, end up in Humbug Marsh and get hungry and show up here at the end of the day for an evening. I think that we should just call this question, it is an asset. I'm 110% for it.
Well, you may have, well, I'm going to, unless somebody seconds, I'm not going to allow the question until every trustee has had an opportunity to opine. Are there any other questions, comments from the board? Mr. Ballesto.
Thank you, Brian. I've sat in a number of meetings, discussion as far as location of where to put a kayak launch, the type of kayak launch that was needed. I voiced my opinions, my objections. I still have questions regarding this particular launch. But that being said, I'm fully in support of it. I think that most of you know that I've been supporting the kayak program at Water's Edge, trying to build interest and get more people involved. I do want to say that there are people in the area. I don't want to say I'll just use the word cautious. They're waiting for us to go forward with installing this ADA launch. That they're going to be lending their full support to our facility and directing people here, which is going to be a benefit to us. I have talked with Dale. I have some ideas of how we can generate some money to cover the cost of maintenance for this launch and the facility, but it is not ready to be. I'm not gonna share it what those ideas are, but I think I've got some pretty good ones, and I think we can make it work, and it will support this launch as it is. But the more people you get there, it's like anything. If something is empty, nobody's interested. But you get a few people there, people are going to drive by, view it, and wonder what's going on, and they're going to stop to fulfill their curiosity. And once they see more and more people doing the kayaking, using our launch, and support from surrounding business people who have the ability to direct a large number of people towards us, it's all going to be good. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I believe we can make it happen. We have the grant money. I want to see it go forward. We don't have the luxury of moving its location. We don't have the luxury of changing its design. This is the package as you see it. We don't at this point we don't have a choice without spending a lot more money. I hope that the board supports this, allows us to go forward. And as long as I'm sitting on this board and have anything to do with the rec department or kayaking, I will put my full support and weight behind it to make it successful.
Thank you. Other Mrs. Smith?
Oh boy. Is this thing on? There we go. I'm for it. I think it will be an asset, but like Mr. Budney said, I do have concerns from the standpoint of maintenance, but we always seem to figure it out. My only wish or desire is that we can figure these things out much more ahead of time as opposed to down the road.
We're getting better.
Yeah.
A little more. All right, with last comment from the board. All right, with none offered, those in favor, back to the motion now, of approving. I'm getting there. To approve the okay, those in favor of approving the purchase of a universal access Easy Dock Pier in the amount of $30,768.59 through the National Joint Powers Alliance nationally bid contract, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed, sadly.
Okay, the motion carries with Trustee Budney in opposition. But well discussed. Anyway, now moving on to action item number 3 again, Trustee Malvesto.
Yeah, here we go. All right, make sure I'm on the right action here. Mr. Supervisor, the proposed motion or recommended action is to approve to accept municipal credit funds from SMART in the amount of $184 to operate 2014 through 2015 Community Transportation Program.
Okay,
Support.
moved by trustee Malvesto, seconded by trustee Posiask. And I guess our rec director will fill us in on the machinations of smart funding. Mrs. Boyd.
Thank you. Yes, we get SMART funds from, it's the Southern Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation, better known as SMART. Roseville is eligible for just over $10,000, and we use that for our community van program. We spent approximately $24,000 last year. $10,000 is reimbursed through SMART funds. We get another almost $3,500 from mileage reimbursement and fares from passengers. So we offset it only by $10,000. And that's a 12-month program that we operate 5 days a week. That includes our Meals on Wheels program and our emergency transportation for people with disabilities, low income, and seniors.
Okay.
Did you want more
So
background?
my question is going to circle back to the vehicles we have available for this, and obviously we need some upgrades. So we're putting in our 10,000. We get some Wayne County, or is it state of Michigan?
Wayne County, and then SMART, and then we get some through reimbursement through the Senior Alliance for Meals on Wheels program.
Okay, and then fares collected also contributes.
Yep, absolutely.
So again, that's going to be my question. We need a vehicle. We need an operable lift van, and how are we going to? Will it be funded through this?
No, actually, you're preempting the January meeting.
I withdraw that question.
Well, no, our current van is not in the best condition, and the lift is horrible.
Yep.
We currently have one car that we use. We use the van as needed when we have multiple passengers, or we have someone that needs a lift. A wheelchair lift, not just lift. And for CDBG, we've had trouble in the past, and we just haven't had the funds to get a new van.
Yeah.
But we just had a meeting with the representatives from Wayne County through CDBG, and we are eligible to purchase a van. So for the next fiscal year, 2015, we are going to request funds to purchase a van and a lift.
Okay, you said next fiscal year. We're delaying until April? Or
No, it's
year?
Wayne County fiscal
Wayne,
year.
okay.
Yep. So in the January meeting, we'll bring the CDBG projects to you, or I will, and then that's one of the projects that I'll be presenting. And then we have to do 2 public hearings in January, and it's the process is due in February.
Okay. That's the assurance I wanted, that we're going to be able to provide this service
Yes,
with
absolutely.
a safe, reliable vehicle. We currently have the safest, best driver in the world, but
Yes,
she
we
has
do.
to have a little bit of mechanical support.
Yes.
Other
Well,
questions?
even in our current state, we're still transporting at least 400 people a year. So we're making do with what we have, but I think once we have the new vehicle and the new lift, we'll be able to open up our services to more people.
As we get older, it gets more and more important. Other questions, comments from the board? Mr. Posiask.
Yeah, just one question about the lift. Sometime in the past, there were some funds allocated to replace the existing lift and the existing van.
Yes.
Are we able to hold those funds towards a newer vehicle and to pay for a lift in a newer vehicle?
Yes, those were approved in last year's approval process. Basically what happens is we are allocated X amount of dollars based on the previous year's dollars. Last year, unfortunately, we planned for the amount that we had the previous year, and when they redid some of the census information, Groseville actually lost quite a bit of funding. So in that section of our money, we were at like 36,000, and that dropped down to 15,000. So neither project was done that year. So a lift was approved, but again at the CDBG meeting, the lady informed us that we could kind of repurpose. It's essentially the same thing. Instead of just the lift, we're getting a van with the lift, so we're able to kind of refocus those funds for a van with a lift.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions from the board? All right, you've eased my concerns. Sorry to
Nope, that's okay.
take your thunder from January, but those in favor of approving the acceptance of municipal credit funds from the Southern Mobility, SMART. I just looked at it, I already forgot the acronym, from SMART in the amount of $10,184 to operate the 2014 through 2015 Community Transportation Program. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered, that carries. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Delaney.
you.
Move on to action item, let's see, we deleted 4 and 5, so, oh, now I gotta read. Okay, action item 6. I know what I'm supposed to say, but I gotta get it up on this little screen here. Okay, this is all tax assessment information, so I move the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees reappoint Mr. Richard Nielsen, Ms. Shelley Schmidtke, and Mr. William Mead to the Board of Review for the term length January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2016, and to approve the reappointment of Mr. Timothy Walker to the Board of Review as an alternate member for the term length January 1st, 2015 to January 31st, 2016.
Second.
Okay, I'll give a move by Supervisor Loftus, second by Trustee Posiask. Board of Review, it's an extension of those mandatory core functions that our local government, our township government provides, that of tax assessment. This is where residents have the ability to either in person or by mail appeal their assessment to a body of their peers. And it's the first step before you can go anywhere else in assessment. So they're sworn members, and they've done a great job. At least some people won't agree with me. But anyway, Mr. Nielsen has served since 2006, Ms. Schmidtke since 2005, and Mr. Mead since 1996. And Tim Walker began volunteer service in this in 2009. Board of Review meets in March. Those dates will come out shortly. Meet in March to hear appeals on property assessments, and also in July and December for technical adjustments to the assessment and tax rolls. Any questions from the board? All right, those in favor of approving the appointments or the reappointments of Mr. Nielsen, Ms. Schmidtke, and Mr. Mead to the terms previously mentioned, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Mr. Walker. Thank you again. I'll move on to...
Mr. Loftus.
I'm sorry.
Supervisor, you did, in saying that, you did miss Mr. Walker's name. You just said the first 3.
Oh, my mistake then. I will add those in favor of approving the reappointment of Mr. Walker as an alternate member, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you for that, Mr. Budney. I don't want to read about it later. All right, now something even more mundane, and unfortunately I have to read the whole thing. I'm going to recommend the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees resolve to approve the poverty guidelines, and I'm just going to start reading the resolution. Whereas the homestead of person or persons who, in the judgment of the Board of Review, by reason of poverty, are unable to contribute to the public charges, is eligible for exemption in whole or part from taxation under the General Property Tax Act, and whereas the Township Board of Trustees is required by Section 7U of the General Property Tax Act, Public Act 2006 of 1893, Michigan Compiled Laws 211.7U, to adopt guidelines for poverty exemptions. Now, therefore, be it resolved, pursuant to MCL 211.7U, Township of Grosse Ile, Wayne County, Michigan, adopts the following guidelines for the Board of Review to implement in 2014, which shall include, but not be limited to, specific income and asset levels of the claimant and all persons residing in the household, including any property tax credit returns filed in the current or immediately preceding year. Okay, subparagraph A, 2015 Grosse Ile Township Poverty Guidelines. Size of family unit, 1 person. Poverty guideline is $21,000. 2 persons, $23,000. 3 persons, $25,000. 4 persons, $27,000. 5 persons, $29,000. 6 persons, $31,970. 7 persons, $36,030. 8 persons, $40,090. And then for each additional household member, add $4,060. Subparagraph B, homeowners and all household members with liquid assets defined as anything readily converted to cash in excess of $57,000, shall not be eligible for a property or poverty exemption. And sub C, the completion of the Township of Grosse Ile 2015 application for hardship exemption. Fill out the form. Be it also resolved that the Board of Review shall follow the above stated policy and state guidelines for the year 2015 in granting or denying an exemption, unless the Board of Review determines there are substantial and compelling reasons why there should be a deviation from the policy and or township and state guidelines, and these are communicated in writing to the claimant. So we have to do this every year, analyze and establish a poverty level. It varies from the federal guidelines significantly at the lower level, but that's what we are adopting, taking a lot of things into account. Questions from the board? Good. Just for, it's in here, I'll give you just for reference, the federal guideline for, it's down here a couple pages. Okay, for the federal guideline for size of family unit of one is, poverty guideline is $11,670, and ours is
21.
Is 20. Thanks, because I can't scroll this thing fast enough. Okay, with that, with no comments from the board, those in favor of approving, Miss Ma'am. Oh, do we not?
Second.
Okay, second by Trustee Buddy. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Gray. Those in favor of approving the resolution for the to adopt Grosse Ile Township's poverty exemptions for the 2014-15 property assessment year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will be adopted. Thank you for putting up with that. And I'll move me on to action item 8. Okay, this is a little bit better. For those who are interested, I mean, Board Review, it's just part of local government. And I'm going to recommend the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees approve, basically to, and again, it's another resolution, approve this ability to mail in appearances to the Board of Review, and I'll read the resolution. Whereas Michigan law allows the governing body of a township to permit resident taxpayers to file a protest to the Board of Review in writing without a personal appearance, and whereas some residents have difficulty attending scheduled March Board of Review sessions in person, and whereas the intent of the Board of Review is to make tax appeals as accommodating as possible to as many resident taxpayers as possible, and now therefore be it resolved, the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees does hereby authorize township residents or their representatives to appeal their property taxes to the 2015 March Board of Review in writing without a personal appearance.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Smith. Thank you, ma'am. Again, this is just it's a convenience. Some people are in Florida. Some people don't have the wherewithal or just don't have the opportunity to come in person to Board of Review. You can mail it in. You can have a representative bring it in for you, and it just facilitates everybody being heard at Board of Review, which is their right granted by the state. Questions among the board?
Support.
Oh. Wow. Mrs. Smith, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. That will carry. And I'm done for a while. Mr. Treasurer.
Based on recommendation from the Airfield Commerce Park manager and the Grosse Ile, I'm asking for authorization from Township Board to authorize Michael Duker, our airfield manager, to enter into a contract with C&S Engineering for runway 422 survey and geotechnical investigation totaling $58,637.30. And this will be pending Airport Commerce Park Commission approval.
Second.
I guess, Mr. Duker.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, did you have more?
Yeah, I just want to finish.
I'll let you lead in then.
Normally, we don't put the cart before the horse, but late February, we were invited to MDOT, who at that time informed us that we have some major issues on runway 422.
Which is our primary runway.
Which is our primary runway. And they had it scheduled sometime down the road, 3 to 5 years for rehab of that runway. And they all of a sudden decided that, no, we want to do this. Now, we're talking a huge commitment. I mean, we're talking $4.6 million to rehab that entire runway. That would be a tear out, a whole new runway being put in. Prior to doing that, of course, we need to get this geotechnical investigation and survey done, which would be required at any point in time. There was some communication because this came in late February or late November. We really haven't had a lot of time at the Commerce Park Commission and the airport committee to sit down and discuss the issues that are going to be involved here, which includes a commitment from the township, from the airfield Commerce Park. So that conversation is going to start immediately. We will have our next meeting, and that'll be our conversation. I'm assuming that because we cannot obviously afford to rehab that runway ourselves, and because, in fact, that runway does need to be rehabbed for the safety's sake and the maintenance of this airport, we need to move forward with every phase of this to keep up with the federal government's funding through MDOT to us. That's why we're asking for this portion. I believe it's a 10% copay to us.
Correct.
We'll be looking at something in the vicinity of about $4,000, $4,000 or $5,000 to us to do this portion of it. But regardless of when they do it, this portion needs to be done. So I think it's important that we move forward on this phase. So in the event that the money comes in, and in the money that they're promising us or committing to us, rather than being a 90-10 split, they're talking about a 95-5 split, which is huge, which makes a whole lot of difference, even though it'll still be a lot of money for the township. And but we need to stay up to date on this runway because we can't, of all the facilities that the township owns, this is one we can't let diminish because once it goes, we'll never get it back. So, Mike, you want to add to that?
This is also a continuation of previous projects we've done. If you recall, I believe the previous board approved the Phase 1 investigation we did because runway 1735 is an older runway and it was deteriorating as well. So we started our investigation on that runway and our primary taxiway Alpha that runs east-west here. We did a Phase 1, I believe that was the previous board. This board approved the Phase 2 about a year and a half ago. When that was completed, right as the project was being completed, we witnessed some severe failures in our primary runway to approximately $80,000 in damage. Those were all asphalt repairs. At that time, I went to the state and requested just to continue the investigation onto our primary runway to see, to investigate what the issues are. At that time, they were unwilling to commit. Now, with the project moving forward, obviously, regardless, we have to do this study to figure out if the problems, in fact, are the same we're having on the other runway, and then they'll determine what the best repair is for those situations. So it's basically, they'll do quite a bit of boring and core samples out of the runway to take out the underlying layer, investigate all that, the reactions that are happening. They do what's called an FWD test. It's basically a truck they drive out there with a huge weight on the back. They drop the weight onto the concrete on the runway and see how it disperses through the pavement. They witness that and they'll chart it all out. But as Ted said, this is really just kind of a continuation of that project and is the kickoff to the runway rehab should it move forward. But as he stated too, if it moves forward, and even in 3 to 5 years, this project will have to take place regardless. So the current setup that they've proposed for funding is, should we move forward with this? If the runway project moves forward, this amount of money can be applied to the total local share and just provided by us, the sponsor. Or if the project doesn't go forward this year, they'll refund us at the 90-10 rate. It could be 95-5 depending on how the federal government kicks in, but I would say 90-10 to be on the safe side. At that point, you'd be looking at $5,862.
Okay, other questions, comments for Mr. Duker?
Mike, this was this is the runway that we had the buckling problem with?
Yes, last summer, the summer of 2013, this was the runway that we had the severe buckling issues with that we've never seen before on that runway. Again, it was roughly, that year we were approximately almost $100,000 in asphalt repairs between the two. I would say $80,000 of that was on that runway. We had what even the state would term as a massive runway failure.
Was there any aircraft damage at all?
No, luckily the runway was closed at that time because we were getting it remarked, and we were able to drive by and witness some of the heaving happening. So luckily there were no injuries or accidents caused by that. It was just a great luck of timing.
Other questions, comments? We've been following this for some time, and as Treasurer pointed out, we need to maintain this airport. If we let it go, if it closes an airport, we're probably not going to like what we end up with. So with that, so I'll go back to the. Are there further comments from the board before I bring this to a vote? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the recommendation from Airfield Commerce Park Manager, the Grosse Ile Township Board will authorize Mike Duker to enter into contract with CNS Engineers for runway 422 survey and geotechnical investigation for a cost of $58,637.30. Am I on the right one?
That's correct.
Okay, because we talked different numbers, but matching shares. Totaling $58,637.30 pending Airport Commerce Park Commission approval. So we're authorizing the Commerce Park to proceed with this. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered? That will carry. And that will bring us on to Mr. Budney.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This is one of our annual things that we do. It's recommend that the board approve entering into an agreement with Wayne County for priority winter maintenance service to the following local roads, with the township and county each sharing in half the cost. Bellevue Road, Meridian to East River, Church Road, East River to West River, Ferry Road, East River to West River, Grays Drive, Meridian Road to East River Road, Horse Mill Road, Meridian Road to East River Road, Lyons Drive, Macomb Street to Grays Drive, Manchester Road, East River Road to Meridian Road, Meridian Road, Bridge Road to Grow Road, Park Lane, Bridge Road to Church Road, Park Lane, Church Road to Oak River Drive, Park Lane, Ferry Road to Bellevue Road, and South Point Grow Road to Albemarle Road. The township share in the cost of the 2014-15 season is $38,833.50 for 10.81 miles of roadway at $1,814.65 per lane mile, 21.40 lane miles, or $3,629.30 per 10.81 miles of roadway.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Buddy, seconded by Trustee Smith. We do this every year. We scratch our heads every year, and I'm gonna ask Chief Murdoch. I mean, what we went through last year. We had our firefighters do we contracted on a lot of road clearing. Wayne County, you're the public safety responder.
DPS did a lot of interior road plowing last year. Did a lot.
Yeah, and the roads that this is for the roads that I mentioned. This has been the same list that we've had year after year after year.
Last year was an unusual year, of course, but yeah, my guys did a lot of interior plowing in front of the ambulances. Mm-hmm. So some roads got plowed just due to the fact that we were going into some of the neighborhoods. So yeah, we do some plowing on our own just for that reason. So the subs were bad last year.
Yeah.
No matter how you cut the pie, the subs were terrible.
Well,
they were bad. So speaking from my own sub, it was terrible.
Okay. And Chief Porcelli?
If I just may mention, since I became chief 6 years ago when we had this program, I was always in contact with Dale. I had our midnight shift. As you know, most of the snow does come through the night. Our midnight shift was keeping track of when the snow came and how fast we got plowed out. And over the last 6 years now, they've done a very good job. Now, last year, as Duncan stated, it was an unusual year. There was a couple times where they did get out, but it wasn't as quick as the 5 previous years. They did an excellent job. I don't know what else to tell you. Last year, 2 times, the first 2 times was a little slower, but they do have, I don't know if you realize this, they do have 2 trucks assigned that come out in tandem, and they clean it up pretty good. I mean, they do a pretty good job, and it's fairly quick. I just want to advise you that, and I'll again keep Dale, the midnight shift, writes me a note. They keep me advised of it, and then I forward it to Dale just to let him know that they have been doing a fairly good job. And the guys that are out there in the middle of the night, which are the police department, they do see it. They do see it. So,
Mr. Treasurer.
Just a little history. Through previous boards, there's been a number of discussions, and this goes back as long as this program's been in effect. A lot of board members feel that it's, again, being Wayne County roads, that why should we as ratepayers, because basically this will be factored into the DPS department budget, as ratepayers have to pay this additional fee. And what happens if we don't pay this fee? Because it's a voluntary fee. We're stepping up to the plate, assisting Wayne County in their overtime. And basically, I can tell you that the roads we saw and the problems we saw in the subdivisions last year with a bad snow will be conditions we will see on our main roads this year if we don't go along with this. As much as I hate to spend this kind of money on a service that should be provided for by our Wayne County taxes, obviously it would not get done. They step up to the plate and give us exemplary service. And this is really the amount of money you see here today is actually paying for last year. The amount we paid last year was much less than this amount. So it's actually based on actual cost for operation on the year previous. So I think it's unfortunate that the ratepayers have to pay it. But if you want to get off this island in due fashion, and you want the fire trucks and the police cars to get around this island, and you don't want cars stacked at intersections, I strongly urge this board to go ahead and approve this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Mr. Buddy?
Yeah, and Ted brought up what I was going to say, that the fee that we're paying is always based on the year before. Over the 10-year period, actually $38,000. This is not the first time we've paid $38,000. Back in 2005 and 6, we paid $38,000. It's been as low as $10,000. So it all depends on the snow. I know when I first saw this and first heard about it, actually as a resident before I became a trustee, I was scratching my head and saying, wait a minute, why are we doing this? But I have come to find out that this is money well spent. They do actually do a good job, and it is, as Ted said, if we don't want to see our main roads like we saw our residential roads, this is something we should do.
Okay. Other comments from the board?
Ditto.
Mr. Posias, thank you. My comment will be for the school buses. If, again, in many communities, if a road is glare ice and the bus can't stop before an intersection, they slide through the intersection. Here, they slide through the intersection and go into the river. So, in a worst case scenario. But I think about the ability of the school buses, because these roads will look much like the school bus routes. So I am in favor of this also. Other comments from the board? Okay. Those in favor then of approving the entering into an agreement with Wayne County for priority winter maintenance services to the roads mentioned, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. We will re-sign the agreement. All right. Let's see. That is Mr. Budney once again.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Steve Lemoyne. Steve, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, to the Zoning Board of Appeals to fill a vacancy.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Trustee Smith for the appointment of Mr. Steve Lemoyne. This was a function at the last Planning Commission. If you want to,
I was just going to say, part of the Zoning Board of Appeals, one of the members is is appointed by the, or brought over from the Planning Commission, and Ann Jaworowski was on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and due to some health issues, she had to retire from that, and Steve is being offered as a replacement, and we look forward to working with them should it be approved.
Okay, we have any other questions, comments from the board? Mr. Lemoyne is here tonight, ready to defend himself. Questions, comments from the board regarding the appointment of Mr. Lemoyne? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the appointment of Mr. Steve Lemoyne to fill the vacancy from the Zoning Board of Appeals, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered? Mr. Lemoyne, thank you for your continued volunteer service. Okay, that will take us to Mr. Van Oss.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion based on the recommendation of the Airfield Commerce Park Manager, the Grosse Ile Airport Commerce Park Commission, to authorize Mike Duker to sign a contract 2015-0091, rehabilitate runway 422 and 1735 emergency repairs between the Township of Grosse Ile and the Department of Transportation. Mike, you want to explain that?
Support?
We had a similar action item last year. This is kind of tying into our runway project that we just discussed. These are basically emergency repairs that pop up during our hot summer months on the runways. Last year was our big severe year with our primary runway. Like I said, I believe our total was right around $108,000 last year. This year it was a cooler summer, so we saw $47,000 worth of damage. What we're seeing, a big problem I'm seeing, is that the recommendation is to put asphalt repairs in there. The one issue we're running into is I'm seeing that we get about a year to maybe 2 years out of these repairs before they have to be milled down about 3 inches and recapped too, because they're popping up about an inch out of the ground. It's the cheapest, easiest way to repair the runway until we have a long-term solution like we're discussing. But every year, each additional patch we put in a year after that has to get remilled down. So every year it's just getting exponentially more expensive. Like I said, this was a cooler summer, so we ended up with $47,000. These funds have already been expended and out of the airport's general fund, basically. So this is just the contract with the state to get reimbursement for 90% of those funds. So approving this, we'll get a $42,300 refund from the state of Michigan. Luckily, the state is on board and continuing to support us while we move towards a solution for our runway issues.
Questions, comments for Mr. Duker? Nobody wants to touch the airport, Mike, just you and me. And Ted. Well, with no comments, those in favor of following the recommendations of the Airfield Commerce Park Manager and the Grosse Ile Airport Commerce Park Commission, recommend the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees hereby authorize Mike Duker to sign contract number 2015-0091, rehabilitate runway 422 and 1735 emergency repairs, contract between the Township of Grosse Ile and the Michigan Department of Transportation. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered? That motion carries.
Thanks much.
Mr. Duker, thank you for your work on that. That will complete our action items. Move to Mrs. Gray. Were you designated to give the clerk's report? Thank you, Mrs. Gray. And Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The month of October, Grosse Ile Township shows $9,508,696 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated a total of $2,966 at a rate of about 0.27%, and that's really getting better. The 2014 winter property tax bill were mailed as of the last day of November. If you did not receive your tax bill, please contact the Treasurer's office to confirm your proper mailing address. It's interesting. It's important to note that mortgage companies holding customer escrow accounts receive a duplicate copy of the tax billing when requested. If you have recently purchased a home or have recently refinanced, you may want to inquire with our office to ensure that they have requested your winter tax bill to pay that from your escrow account, because the only way you'll know is you'll end up getting a notice of of a late tax bill. Eligible residents, our winter tax bills are due on February 17th, 2014. 3 extra days are going to be allowed due to the 14th falling on a weekend and President's holiday falling on the 16th. The drop box will be open and our office will be open during most of the days. Eligible recipients can apply for an extension of the winter tax bill due date of February 17th, 2015 to April 30th, 2015. Deferment applications are available online at the Treasurer's website or at our office. The 2015 pet tags are now available. Please provide proof of rabies vaccination before purchasing your 2015 tags. The cost is $6 until January 31st. Afterwards, the pet tag fee goes up to $12. The investment report's available on my website, which shows you a detail of where all of our funds are. And do we have a meeting with the Commerce Park? Mike? Do we have a meeting with?
Monday the 15th.
Fifth,
Our next scheduled is next Monday the 15th.
the 15th for the Commerce Park Airfield Commission. I have nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee liaison reports, and we'll start. Mr. Posiask.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have a brief list of 700 items. Number one, I would like to commend the Recreation Department for the beautiful job that they did at Island Glow and on Breakfast with Santa the next day. Well done. Thank you. Number two, our new fountain has been put to sleep for the winter. You notice it's not there right now. That's when we can park in the garage in the winter. But that doesn't mean that we've forgotten about the bricks. The bricks are for sale. They're $50 a piece for a 4x8, $100 a piece for an 8x8. We'd sure like to see somebody buy a brick that says, "I love Woody Clark." Or something like that. But they'd make a nice Christmas present, and if you want to memorialize somebody, you want to memorialize.
Wally,
You want another one?
instead of a lump of coal, a brick.
Yeah, that works. They're easier to throw, right? The fact is that they are available. I'd encourage people to don't forget about them and buy them. We would like to get that little pad filled up a little bit more, and in the springtime, it'll really be a sharp thing to look at. The Bike Path Committee will have a meeting on the 16th of this month, which is a week from tomorrow. And as I did the last month, I've asked people in our audience to please come to these meetings, especially this Bike Path meeting. We're asking your input as to what you like on the bike paths and on the Greenway open space soft paths, and what you'd like to see changed. There's nothing like resident input, and we'd like to hear what you have to say. Number 5, there is no Greenways open space meeting this month. Number 6, brief shout out to Claire and Art Kester, 2 giants in our community. Both of them have had their share of ill health this year, and keep them in your prayers and thoughts, and if you can send them a card, I'm sure it would cheer them up. And most of all, I would like to wish all of our residents, all of our township elected officials, all our township staff, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Wally. All right, moving on. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have a couple of items to go over. I talked with Ted Fournier today in regards to the audio issues that we've experienced here. He's assured me that he's been working with a number of different vendors, and he had actually one come in today, and I think he has another one coming in on Wednesday. So I know that he's working hard on the project and is going to bring something to us, at, hopefully to the commission, possibly on Wednesday. But I'm not sure if you guys have looked, but the video quality is also much improved. So once we get the audio quality, I think we'll all feel a little bit better about things. The website did launch. I'd like to thank the Communications Commission, especially Chairwoman Kathy Walker, for her hours and hard work to this point. Although there are some hiccups and there are some errors, Revise has assured me, as well as some other individuals, that they're going to go through the site and polish it up and fix all the errors. So hopefully that'll be taken care of in the next 2 weeks. The next Communications Commission meeting is this Wednesday at 5 o'clock. The next festival meeting is January 21st at 7 o'clock. And let's see, what else is there? That's pretty much it. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. We'll move on, Mr. Malvesto.
Thank you. Yes, the Island Glow was a success. I was there for a while Friday night. I couldn't stay as long as I'd like to, but anyways, it wasn't quite as cold as it was last year, which was a real blessing. As far as the fire department goes, Chief, we got Goodfellows, and then you're also stuffed the bus, correct? Yes. Just keep your eyes open for that. What was the date on the stuff the bus? 13. So you just bring
Stuff.
Stuff.
Yeah, stuff. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Say it again.
Food.
Oh, food.
Food.
Or are we talking
Canned
just
goods?
clothing, gifts, or anything? All right. Thank you. And Chief, where are we? We're over 500 calls so far this year. In the 6 already, and we've still got almost a whole month ahead of us. And the holidays are a big hitter for the department. Yep. You know, thanks to all the firemen and rescue people. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Budney.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. No ZBA meeting this month, so welcome, Steve. You start off with an off month. Good going. We met with the Wayne County Road people last week to discuss our long-term road project. And if you come to our DPS meeting tomorrow or tune in, you'll find out what happened on that. Other than that, I just want to say kudos to Brandy on her first event. Very nice. I was on my way to Cleveland, so I didn't get to attend, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. So congratulations on that. And I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, especially my fellow board members.
Thank you, Ms. Budney. Well, I'll try to clean up here with the supervisor's report. First, and I want to thank Mr. Posias for mentioning Art and Claire Kester, great volunteers, great contributors to the quality of this community. I want to add the passing of Jim Gandel. We saw him quite often in this boardroom during my tenure, at least with his sidekick Jack Delphi, and they just always brought value by their input. So Jim Gandel, Planning Commission member for 20 years, 1989 through 98. It passed on November 30th. Jim was an invaluable member of the Planning Commission. Always put the interests of the community first. We extend our sympathies to his wife Phyllis, his family and friends. Jim will be missed, and Jim, thanks. I'll throw one more in, an Island Glow. It was Mr. Malvesto. He was there for as long as he could participate. We were catching up with him, but it was just a blast. Lots of kids, lots of fun. The luminaries, the tree lighting. It was just a really fun event, and I'm always amazed how many little kids we have on the island, and it was just a blast. So again, it was Ms. Boyd's first big event. Well done, well done. Okay, other good news, Grosse Ile Township has been selected to participate in the Detroit Institute of Art's Inside Out program for the summer of 2015. Basically what this is they have outdoor capable, weatherproof reproductions of various artworks, and they're bringing, I think, 14 or 15 of them to Grosse Ile, various locations throughout the island. Emphasis on those sites which are walkable, bikeable, so you can stroll by and take in a work of art. So we'll be working on site selection. Ms. Donna Henson, current president for Grosse Ile Alliance for the Arts, was down there to receive the award. It's very exciting. It just adds some more class to the island, some more, one more incentive, just a little bit of quality. Looking forward to that, and if you have ideas as to where you think a piece of artwork would be accessible and appreciated, let Carol Knope know, because she was the first one involved in this and applied for it, and she is equally excited about it. Holiday luncheon for Grosse Ile seniors, Wednesday. That's this coming Wednesday, December 10th, 12:30, at the Rec Building, Centennial Farm. $10 advance tickets only. You can call the Rec Department 675-2364. I don't know if we have the capability of doing it online or through email, but Brandy will help make it happen regardless. The Historical Society Holiday Boutique, now co-chaired by my wife, Mrs. Walker, basking in her glory as the retired member. Open for holiday shopping, open all weekends in December, ending on the 21st. Basically, it's Thursday through Sunday. The hours are available on a flyer we have in the back of the room. All proceeds benefit the Grosse Ile Historical Society, and one more time, if they don't have it, you don't need it. So, and also remember Macomb Street for your holiday shopping needs. Shop small, shop local. It's more fun, and you get local stuff, and you learn what everybody else is buying and what everybody else needs. And lastly, almost lastly, township offices will be closed Wednesday and Thursday, the 24th and the 25th. Also Wednesday and Thursday, the 31st and January 1st, for the Christmas and New Year's holidays. Everybody be careful out there, please. Merry Christmas to everyone. Woody, legal fees will be to O'Reilly Rancilio of $3,635.40. That's all I have. Township manager, any?
You all did such a wonderful job. I have nothing to add.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, with that, let's see. Open public comment. 3 minutes. Any topic. State your name, your address, and the mic is yours. Mrs. Walker.
Hello, and as I always say, shop the island, Brian.
First
of all, I would like to thank the entire Communication Commission for their diligence and work developing and implementing the new website. I'd also like to thank the Township Board, the Township Management, and the employees for their support and involvement in this project. It was a big one for us, and I think as it moves forward, completing some of the details, as Mrs. Smith has said, it'll be a fine website. Most of all, I'd like to thank Ted Fournier, our communications manager. Ted has worked tirelessly to see this project through. I have had the honor and privilege to work with him. He is a dedicated and loyal employee, and he put up with me for hours and hours and hours when he didn't want to, and it shows. And I would like to thank everyone for it. I hope you're happy with it. We've heard a lot of nice things. Everybody seems to think it reflects the community's look. And since I live with a very old-time island person, I would have heard if he didn't like it. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. There it is on your monitors for those who haven't accessed it yet. I'm real happy with it. So, as Ms. Smith said, a few tweaks, but we're 99% there. Better than some websites have rolled out in recent memory. Any other public comment? Mr. Clark. Your hand went up. Your hand went up first, Woody.
You said legal fees already, so that's. Is there any water in the rink or ice in the rink? Why? I mean, we put all this stuff in there. We put all the stuff on the sides and did all the routine. How come we haven't got nothing in it so they can use it?
It's not below freezing.
Hasn't been cold enough.
Not cold enough now? When it gets cold enough, that means that there'll be ice in there so they can play the hockey?
I would think so.
That's the plan.
I hope so.
They put the shelter up this past weekend.
Put the what?
The shelter.
The shelter. Well, that's good. I want some ice. Okay.
Soon enough. Soon enough, we'll have plenty.
Water.
Okay, now we got lights on the runway. Are these new lights? I see them all, they're pretty bright out there. Is this a new upgrade on the lights?
There's been no new installations. On which, south end, north end?
Out there.
A lot of lights out.
I know that.
No new installations.
Because how come they're so bright then, compared to last year?
Brighter than they have been previously. Maybe they're probably look brighter now because there's less leaves in the trees to block the light.
Yeah,
You might be seeing more.
plus pilots have the control to dim,
Yeah.
medium,
Okay.
and high
All
strength.
right, let's see. So there was no, so you didn't pay for it. On the 58,000, who paid for it? Did we get it, was it grant money? Or did we pay for the 58,000 you talked about, Ted?
It's a split. We paid, if you're talking about the new project, it'll be a 90-10, we're hoping 95-5. We're not, and the MDOT will pay for the balance. But our maximum investment would be 5% of the 58.
Okay, but you mentioned something like $58,000. I just want to know.
On the rehab, we paid for that, and we're being reimbursed by MDOT.
MDOT, no grants, just MDOT.
Yeah, MDOT. Well, it comes through the federal government, FAA
Okay,
through
all
MDOT.
right. Through us, it really, and okay.
We're the third party, but we end up with a check.
Okay, Mr. Bundy mentioned Park Lane to Bridge to Church. How does that happen? On a drive, on a clearing of the road. You said Park Lane to Bridge Road, I get that, and then you said to Church Road?
Park Lane from Bridge to Church, I think is what it was. I don't have it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I just didn't understand where that was. Okay, on Wayne County plowing, you have some people that don't want us to pay for it. They've never lived here when they didn't pay for it. You will have a hell of a problem driving in this island. You won't go anywhere. You'll go in the ditch. So if you're pitching a bitch because we're paying money, you won't like the other bitch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comments from the public present? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Rob Albright. I live on Thorntree and Grosse Hill. I just have a question about a path that was recently renovated on school property. I understand that was done, and I kind of want to understand the process of how that was brought to the attention of the township and who paid for it, how it was approved, the funds for that, et cetera. So I'm wondering who I can talk to about that. Dale,
Okay,
can you answer
Mr.
some of that?
Albright, this is public comment, normally not public question and answer.
I asked Eric to have this on the agenda, and he said he was going to have this. He thought this was worthwhile of talking about. So he's not here. I can't help that he's on vacation, but those are my questions. I would like to talk to somebody who can answer those.
Can you give a quick overview? We just discussed this, so Mr. Ream is prepared for a quick recap.
Thank you.
I've had some recent discussions with Mr. Bozias and Chairman Brian Pollock. And I think Mr. Albright's concerns are, why did the township do a path repair on school property? And the school property, the school path is the one that goes from the high school to the administration building. That project was installed by the township many years ago. I'm actually in the process of backtracking that to try to figure out the timing. And that was put in with CDBG funds and has been maintained by the township ever since. And I believe it's been a good 15 plus years. Yeah. So we had recently done repairs on it. When they did the big repair project last summer in 2013, they did some crack sealing in areas, and some of the other spots were in really, really bad shape. And there were unit prices in that contract. And we were looking at having the middle section redone, and the contractor ran out of weather. And then here we are this year, after last year's winter, it was a lot worse in certain spots. So that contractor ended up unfortunately being unresponsive, so we worked with another contractor that had an open contract with us and gave us a price, and we had that repair taken care of. The concerns were the need, and obviously I ended up becoming a lot worse shape and from a safety issue. But related to the questions that some of the commissioners had, that's something that we traditionally and have historically done. So we did. I know I had communications, and I know it was discussed at the meeting, but I don't, come to find out, I think at the commission level, there was not necessarily agreement or consensus that we should proceed in that manner. Well, because of history and because of the safety issues, it took place. So I've been invited to attend the meeting in January by Chairman Pollack and give that history, give that background. He actually asked me some good questions that I didn't have answers for, as well as Trustee Posey asked related to, do we have a formal agreement with the schools? I'm not aware of that, but we're looking. And then I know Mr. Posiask had pointed out and wanted to be sure of the legalities, even though I'm comfortable saying this, that expending those funds from the bike path millage on the school property is legitimate. We can always get an attorney opinion. So that's a little bit of the background and history on those items and where we are with them. So.
Why was that considered urgent at the time of year? I mean, it was done, late October? Why is there now an urgency for that to not be bid out in a normal process? I guess that's one of my questions. The second of all, I've been in the biking commission for 4 years almost, even before it was a formal commission amongst this board. And I, along with most of the other commissioners, had no idea that this was even being quoted out as part of the bike path maintenance, nor did we believe that this was part of our bike path system to maintain. So I was shocked, disappointed, and outraged that this all took place and a $35,000 expenditure happened without any of us on that commission having the understanding that this was being done.
Well, I'm surprised to hear you say that it wasn't spoken about. I know
this part was not spoken about as maintenance. We talked about it at a high level in one meeting, stating whether we should be moving forward or not with this, and we agreed as a commission that we needed to talk to the Board of Education because we did not believe that this was our responsibility to maintain. And we were going to wait till after January. There was no other discussions about that. And I've gone back and I've checked the meeting minutes of that from all summer long. And we've talked about the repair needs. We talked about the area by the gas station. We talked about the bridges. We never talked about the bike path area between the schools.
Well, I was just surprised to hear you say that because it was my understanding that it was something that was on your agenda. It just wasn't agreed upon.
No, and so I would like to also work through someone here on the board to make sure that we no longer have any of those breakdowns in communication so that the commission is completely aware and we're communicating and talking about the same thing.
Well, your commission does have a liaison.
Well, obviously that failed us, so we need to come up with another solution.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Posiask.
I would like to address Mr. Albright directly. There was no failure of communication. You miss several meetings, sir, and you don't read all of your notes. That has been discussed 2.5 years ago. It was mapped out 2 years ago. That is my answer. You can wait until January's meeting and have all your questions written out. But when it comes to a safety issue regarding a bike path, those are taxpayers, and we're going to fix our bike paths when we need to.
Sir, the issue was that this was not discussed and approved amongst our commission as an advisory commission. This section was not. We did talk about the other things. We did not talk about this specifically.
Read your minutes.
I have read my minutes, sir. They're actually.
I'm going to interrupt the argument here. You both have points. I would like to see a resolution that Mr. Albrecht's questions are satisfied. And but Mr. Posiak does remain the line of communication between the commission and this board. Other public comment? Mr. Pilkington.
Craig Pilkington, South Point. First of all, I wanted to congratulate the Communication Commission and the board on getting this website up on behalf of the township. I've long been a proponent of a CMS system. I think it's very nice. I think the latitude that you'll find going forward is going to be of great benefit to the entire community, and you'll be able to give us a much higher level of customer service. One of the things that I heard as I was on my way here, I think, is you were talking about the kayak launch, and certainly this is the type of thing that, frankly, you'll be able to do surveys of the community and get input as you bolt on functionality to this. So I know it was a lot of hard work. I've heard good things. I've heard some criticisms. I think, and I would ask everybody that has criticized it, be patient. It'll get worked out. It'll get fleshed out, and they'll figure it out. It is a learning process, and it has got to be a dynamic site. So congratulations to all. Secondly, a couple of other things that are coming up this week. There's a shop and dine out for music for the schools on Wednesday. I think it's in Wyandotte at Bourbons and Fine Things. And if you go and you spend any money, a portion of those proceeds will benefit the Groseal Music Boosters and K-12 music programs throughout the township. There is a middle school winter band concert on Wednesday at 10 o'clock, high school winter band concert Thursday. Did I say 10 o'clock? Wednesday at 7 o'clock, Thursday at 7 o'clock is the high school winter band concert. Everybody's invited. Those are usually have really wonderful turnouts, and you can see the kids who do a great job. And of course, there's no cost to it, so everybody is invited to go. And again, congratulations to the rec department. You guys did a great job. I wanted to make a call out to Annette Peltz and also to Chad Novak, who works so hard on these things, on almost every event that the township puts on. And it was really terrific. Great turnout. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Pilkington. I've got the current community calendar up on the monitor. I don't know if we've set parameters as to what events we're going to post on there, what we're not, but those certainly, since they're benefiting our music boosters and I can't read my own notes.
Might I? Pardon? Actually, you can go to the Groseal
the Opportunity Groseal
site right now, and it's on Holiday Events 2014.
So I'm just, my curiosity is what latitude do we have to publish such items on the township's website too? So we'll look for policy on that and get as much information out as possible. But 6 years, Craig, we've been looking for this, about 6 years to get a...
6 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
About a 5.
Congratulations, and all those people that served on the commission over the years that were proponents of it as well. So,
thank you, Mr. Pilkington. Other comments from the public present? Okay, seeing none, we are planning on going into closed session, so at this time I will request an adjournment from open session and a short break into before we go into closed session. So I'll take a motion to adjourn from open session.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Vanoff, supported by Trustee Budney. Those in favor of adjourning to go into closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered? Let's take 5 minutes, meet in the upstairs in the boardroom on the second floor. For everyone else, though, thanks for coming tonight. Mr. Albrecht, we'll get your questions answered. Merry Christmas to everyone. Please be careful out there. Good weather isn't going to hold up. Bye for now. And we'll see you in 2015.